So this is part 3 of this very nice Tamiya 148 scale F-4B Phantom. Hello, this is BJ from Hearns Hobbies and welcome to part 3 of the Tamiya 148 scale F-4B Phantom build. Okay, so where are we up to? We've got the fuselage here, which will basically tack together, so I've still got some tape on the end. Now I generally like to keep it tacked until the majority of it goes together, so I'll wait until the wings go on. Once that's all aligned, then I'll make sure everything is fully glued in. Even the spine at the moment is still separate, so even though it's said I should be gluing it on now, I'll wait until a bit later. The fit does feel pretty good, but just in case it sort of stretches out a little bit and changes the alignment, we'll leave that on and we'll put it on later. Okay, so I'll leave that over here. Alright, so where are we up to? We've gotten to the stage where we've got the fuselage halves together, we've got the front cockpit bulkhead and the engine subassembly all put into place. We already got to this point where we trimmed off one of the aerials off the spine, and here it's indicating to put in a clear part, which I think I'll do the clear parts later because they'll just be going all over the place at the moment. So let's move on to step 16. So step 16 is wings, and within this step there's going to be quite a lot of adjustment. So there's a little knife thing here indicating where parts need to be trimmed, and then also a whole load of holes that need to be drilled. So hence why I've got my little pin vise here. Now the holes are indicated to be from 0.8 to 1.5 mil. Now just to make my life easier, I'm just going to drill everything out at the smaller hole, which is 0.8, so I don't have to keep changing bits. And then as I need to, I'll enlarge them from the other side. Okay, so what I'm going to need, the wing top sections and then also the base. Okay, so they're over here. Alright, so in the meantime, let's put on my mag visor because I need those to see sort of what I'm doing. Alright, so I'm just going to cut these bits out. Okay, so there's the base of the wing, and then we've got the upper sections. So we'll just trim these off. Okay. Alright, so I've got my main wing there. Let's just shift that across there. Alright, so underneath here we've got markings of where the holes need to be. So there's these points here. And it's quite clever how Tamiya have molded in, so they're a conical shape. So it will naturally guide the center of the drill bit into the right spot. So I'm just going to be using my 0.8. So even though it says 1 mil and 1.5, I'm just use a 0.8, just go through it. It'll poke out the other side, and we'll enlarge them from the other side. So these ones here are simply going to be locating holes, I think for a blister on the other side. Alright, so that's through there. Okay. All Alright, the holes are through. So you'll notice here, you'll get a little bit of swarf on the ends here, which we're going to just scrape off later. So you can either use just the end of your fingernail. Fingernail's quite soft, so you're not going to scratch detail. And that's pretty clean. Alright, so that's the holes for those done. So we'll do the holes first, and then I'll clean up the rest of the parts as needed. Alright, so we'll pay attention to what we need to do here. So we'll just make sure all the holes are in the correct spots. So as you can imagine, drilling the holes can be tedious, but it's obvious that there's going to be options available. So I guess if you wanted a perfectly smooth underbelly, you don't need to drill these holes. If you want it with all the pylons and stuff, then you will need to have them in. Now if you don't have a drill or a pin vise as such, you can always use the end of a sharp modeling scalpel as well. Obviously it's going to be a rougher finish, but it will do the job. Okay, so I think I've done them all. Let's clean this up a bit. Alright, so pay attention to make sure you've done all the holes. I've missed a couple there, because if you miss them, once this is all glued up, it's going to be near impossible to find the exact spot. Okay, so let's just check them all again. Okay, I think I've done it all. Looks okay. Alright, so let's just scrape off a bit of this swarf. Now I find your fingernail is quite useful for this, because your fingernails are quite gentle compared to the hardness of the plastic. If you're trying to use a knife or sandpaper, you're just damaging the surface. So let's just pushing the swarf out of the way. Okay. You might notice some of the holes are starting to fill up a bit, but at least they're there. You can always clean them up just with a bit at a later stage, just by pushing them in. You can see that that's already cleared that up. Okay. Actually, I might as well do the rest of them like that too, just so it's easy to see them. Just push the bit in. Just because you're going through the other side, it's going to clean them up, make them easier to see. Now remember, I made all these 0.8, so they're probably going to need to be adjusted later. But I always prefer to have the holes smaller than risking having them being too large, because if they're too large, you may actually notice them once the items are glued into place, and they're a bit hard to hide afterwards. All right, there are all the holes done there. Double check these. I've got 2 holes on each side of this. Got one there. And these ones there. Okay, I think that's all good. Okay, so now we're going to concentrate on the cleaning up. Okay, so we'll keep looking at section 16. It indicates certain areas where the gates are undergated, which means they're molded in a spot so they don't damage the surface of the plastic. Okay, so we've got one main one here. All right, so we'll trim that off. Use a knife to carefully trim it. Okay. Now I've still got nub marks which I've left on certain sections here. I'll attend to those after I've glued them together on the lower part of the wing. That way when I'm cleaning them up, I'll be able to get a perfectly flush finish. This one over here, probably not going to get in the way, although I'll trim it off a little bit just in case. This one here. Alright, so that bit's there cleaned up. Do the same over here. Same under gate there. Alright, that's done. Again, these 2 points I'm going to leave there. Let's trim this off here. Alright, okay, so the lower part's done. Now let's do, actually they're the upper parts. This is the lower part. So this section here, which is a support brace during molding, that needs to be removed. Okay, so it's off. But then it looks like there's quite a number of undergated parts here too, which is indicated in the manual. So you've got these 2 sections here across the leading edge. Okay, let's trim those. Clean it up with a knife. Okay, so we've done that. Got the undergates cleaned up. Alright, we'll clean up these parts here.
got coffee
Yeah.
at Plum's expense. Has a fun little cardboard thing that's probably got thrown away.
Alright, so we're just cleaning up all these nubs. Alright, and again, these parts here I'm going to leave in place. We'll clean those up later. Alright. Let's get rid of the swarf. And we'll just do a test fit. So, just in case we've missed anything. Okay, so I have a look. That's all flush. This is flush. That's all flush. Okay, that's pretty good. Let's try the other side. Now, by test fitting all your pieces as you go, you'll be able to notice quickly before you make any mistakes whether or not anything needs attention. So that's all good. It's all good. Yep, looks good. All right, so let's move on to the next step. Okay, so this is the center bulkhead, which is going to have the undercarriage bay. All right, so I'll move this aside, and we'll get that. That's this big chunky part right here. Okay, so super thick plastic. So this is actually going to be part of the structural integrity of the fuselage of the model, and then also have all the detail hanging off it as well. Okay, so this is where we're going to be applying some of the mechanisms for the undercarriage. I'll just move this out of the way, and we'll start cutting this up. Okay, so I've got that section, and we're also going to need a few other bits. So we've got A10, it's A10, A10 and P. So P sections, so over here. So we've got P13, P13, P14. P6 and P5. Okay, so what are our components here? All right, we'll just trim them off. Okay. Okay, there's smaller parts done. I'm just cleaning up this big chunky part. So to see all the detail which is along here. So those are two sides of the engines. And then you've got the undercarriage bays there. And then all this is just structural. This has got nothing to do with the detail of the model. You see how thick it is. It's going to keep all the wings all straight, because that's basically the wing roots at this point. So let's just quickly clean it up. A lot of this won't be seen anyway, but we'll give it a reasonable clean. Okay, so we've got our part all pretty much cleaned up. Got all of our components here. Drop in. Alright, so we've got that there. Spin this around. That's on this side. Make sure you get the right orientation on these things. Oh, that's the wrong way around, that must be over here. There we go. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, so they all fit into place. Let's glue those down. Okay, they're in the right spots. There's the part we had earlier. Let's just glue that part down as well. Okay, it looks like I missed a bit here. So B29, this little round thing. Let's go over here. Let's just see where the B parts are. Okay, so I've got my B parts. B29. There you go. This little duvallaki. Quick trim. Okay, so that fits over here. Okay. All right, well that's part 17 complete. So we'll move along, and looks like this is where we attach it to the base of the wing. Okay, so there's the base of the wing we had earlier. Let me take these parts off. All right, so it's going to have these large locating points. So we just make sure they all go in the right spot. Just falls into place. Really good fit. So you see how the struts we put in earlier, they can be noticed here now. All right, so before I glue that into place, I'm going to cut off these other fine parts. We'll get these into the base, and then we'll glue it all up, because that's going to be basically pulling it all together. All right, so let's get these P parts, P11 and 12. And P3 and 4. Okay, so these little bits here appear to have some molding extensions, so we just got to trim those off. And it's probably quite noticeable here. You can see Tamiya's engineered these interlocking parts here. Usually I don't see this, usually it's butt joints, but this will give it much more strength as it's all together. Okay, so let's quickly trim these up. Okay, they're all trimmed up. So let's see. Just make sure we've got the right orientation on these. Alright, so this one goes in here. Wow, okay, they basically just fall into place. Alright, so they're located where I need them. Let's just glue those panels in first. Okay, so that's all in. Let's have a look over here. Okay, looks good. So this sub-assembly here is going to be glued into place now. And we'll start off with the center. Okay, now I'm going to start applying glue to the rest of it. Let's give it a little bit of pressure, hold it in place, and then finish off with the ends. Just check for gaps. Gaps look pretty good. So you see this is the that bulkhead that's gone in. You've got locating lugs, so you've got the main locating lugs here, and then there's locating lugs here as well. Just want to make sure that it's all flush all the way around. Looks good. Okay, so now we've got the top sections. Now I'm just going to dry fit them on, just to make sure it feels right. Yep, feels pretty good. Just check the fit around the edges here. Yep. Okay. All right, so these are the little blisters. So they're going to fit in the holes that we drew it out before. So N26 and N25. So N, where's N? N's over here, N26, N25, okay, right here. Okay, so we're on to part 18. So part 18, all right, so I just cut out these blisters, just going to clean them off a bit. All right, so let's just trim this. So nice how they're ungated. Just use our 400 grit to clean that up. Okay. All right. Now let's just check through to the next step before I glue these on. All right, so this is step 19, attaching the fuselage. Okay, so this is a fairly big step. I want to make sure that everything is fully aligned, and that's why I've basically tacked that together, and this isn't fully together yet. So I'm going to dry assemble it and make sure it all looks right. Okay, all looks pretty good. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the fuselage dry assembled onto here, and this is where I'm going to use it as a partial template. It probably doesn't matter that Tamiya have engineered this to the point where no matter what order you follow, whether it's to the instructions or not, it'll probably align perfectly anyway. But I like to do this just so it's absolutely perfect, because you know, you still got a little bit of movement that could happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some tape, which I had here before. I've lost it now. I'll grab some tape. I'll tape these down, and then I'll glue these sections in place. And then we'll do the final assembly with the fuselage on. Okay, let's take that off for the moment. The fit already feels pretty good anyway. Let's see, where's my tape over here? All right, so I just got some Tamiya masking tape. Actually, I shouldn't have taken this off. This is meant to be still together. Okay, so I'm going to concentrate on areas around the front of the wing root here, the side, and then at the back, and I'll do it on both sides. So I just want this tensioned up a little bit. Oh, I should have gone the other way. Let's do it this way. Okay, I'm gonna get a few more bits. Now, as I hold this together, all these joints here, they just fit amazingly. Including here, here, all the way up to the size of the fuselage, there's no gap at all. Okay, so I'll keep that together for a sec there. Now I'm just going to put on these blisters. Just see the orientation of these blisters. Alright, so flat section towards the front. Okay, just going to open these up a little bit. Just need to make it a little bit bigger.
Yeah, so as long as the machine...
Okay, not quite right. Oh. Alright, we'll just check to make sure it's perfectly flush, and it is. Awesome. Okay, let's put that on. Okay, perfectly flush. All right, let's prepare this one here. Okay, so the blister's in place, and let's see, I think what we'll do, before I start gluing all this together, I'll get the intakes done, and we'll have this all glued at the same time, so we've got absolutely perfect alignment. Okay, so I'm just going to pop this along here over here. All right, so let's move to okay, step 20. So attaching the nose undersurface. Okay, so that's going to be this section here. So we've got the R. This part here, this is the undercarriage bay for the front. All right, so there's a couple of panels. R5 and R3. R5. Oh, I've got R3 here already. Okay. All right, let's clean it up. There's a little panel. Okay, so the instructions call for a couple little panels to be filled in here for the B version, but we'll just leave them in there since we're just doing a basic construction without the putty. Alright, so let's just test fit this. Move those. Alright, so here's our main assembly. Alright, it's very interesting how you got interlocking keys. Right, so it matches with this. Okay, so it basically just falls into place. Alright, so looking at this, I think I need to clean off that undergate there a little bit more. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, it looks really good. Okay, so I'm just going to dry assemble this with some tape. So you might notice a slight gap there because it's not held together, but once I press it, you can't see a gap at all. But we'll just hold this together with some tape and then we'll glue all these parts together, like I said earlier, just to make sure everything's fully aligned. Actually, I forgot this panel, so let's just glue this panel on now. So this is the panel that goes here. Okay, so now we're up to step 21. So this is the air intakes. I'm going to get this and pop it over here. Okay, so air intakes are going to be some pretty chunky parts. I think these are part of it, are they? Okay, so let's get all this happening here. All right. Got one there. C16. Alright, so we've got the guides here. So C5. So as I'm cutting these out, I'm cutting out the other side as well. I'm just keeping them segregated so it's easier to recognize. C2. Okay, so what have we got here? C16. Okay, that's that. And then we've got these large ducts. Got the B8 and the B10. Alright, so we've got the big massive ducts here. B8 and 10. Okay, let's see what we've got here. So you might notice it's very clever that Tamiya have actually marked what the parts are on the item too, because I guess not everyone follows the instructions step by step exactly to the T. And as you can see, as I'm doing it, I'm making an interpretation myself too. So it's good that these are already marked, because otherwise it'll be hard to recognize. So you got that, and it's also marked on this one too. So you got B8 and B10. Let's do this trial fit here. Okay, it looks pretty good. Alright, so I've cut out all these parts here now. Pretty much running out of time for this installment. So we'll continue on with these next time around. So what we're up to is we've got pretty much most of our aircraft put together. It is dry assembled at the moment because I'm not following exactly the instructions. I like to get the bulk of it together so that I can get it perfectly aligned. It'd probably align very well anyway because of the engineering from Tamiya, but being the perfectionist I am, I just like to make sure it's absolutely perfect with absolutely no gap. So the only way to do that is you have all your major components together before it's all glued together. So that's why I've got the tape along here. I still have a few dags here, which are nubs, which I'm going to clean up once it's glued. The fuselage itself is just tacked together. So once we've got all our major components together, that'll be all glued as well. So we're starting with our intakes. I've got all the components here for the right side. This is the left side. Still need to be cleaned up, and then we'll get them all glued. So thanks for your patience. Thank you for watching the build. So this is part 3, and we'll continue on with part 4 in the near future. So thank you for joining me with this build of this very nice Tamiya 1/48 scale F-4B Phantom.